Welcome to the Joya Life Podcast, episode number 3, where I'm joined today by Rebekah, telling us all about health, nutrition, sleep, and learning so much about different parts of our body and how our bodies work and how to get our bodies working better. And if there's bits and pieces you've heard before in other podcasts, so have I, and I get to ask the questions so that I can understand a little bit more, and hopefully you will too. So listen in and welcome, Rebekah. Let's get stuck in.
Thank you. Let's get into it.
I guess in terms of what we want to talk about here is you had a crack at the Joya Life Scorecard, the early version.
Yes, I did the one online as well.
But you did the one online. You've got there's 8 different areas in there. You obviously had some strengths and weaknesses. Do you mind sharing what your strengths were, and then what your sort of average ones were, and what you kind of went?
Yeah. Look, I think my strengths were around the relationships, like the fulfillment as far as relationships go.
Yeah.
I feel very.
That's in a long distance relationship too.
That's
isn't
in
it?
a long distance relationship with my partner. But then, like in the greater sense as well, like with my children, with my parents, with my friends.
Yeah.
So, I do feel very fulfilled in the relationship sector.
Yeah.
Health, I'm pretty good with health as well.
I would hope so. Yeah, good to hear.
I guess where my shortfalls are around finances.
Yeah, right.
So it's like the whole financial planning, whenever you... that's I was thinking that this morning before we started recording. I was listening to you in the other room just going, okay, hang on, can I get my notes out and start?
Yeah.
No, we should talk. Yeah, because, after being married for 20 years and then very much being on my own from that point onwards, it's kind of been, I've had to look after myself, basically.
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of been a very busy time ever since that started. And I don't think I've ever really put any proper planning in place. I created a business. I worked very hard in 5 jobs at once when I first separated.
Only 5?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know. I could have fitted one more in. But then created the construction business, and that was very successful quickly. And that's probably the time that I should have done a bit more planning, which I did in some ways for the business with company trust structures and things like that, but not from a personal level.
Yeah.
And so I think that's, for me, that's where I find, as far as the joy, like the whole fulfillment in life goes, that fulfillment wheel, like that's kind of the little part where I'm kind of like, I think I need to.
And it's one of those things, it's like you're obviously very comfortable and happy in your life because you've got the really important stuff. For me, finance is just an enabler anyway, but it also gives you that security of knowing that you can come back.
That's what it's about, it's security.
And so when you don't necessarily, when you have a bit missing, it's when you kind of go, every now and again, those darker thoughts will creep in and you'll start to go whatever. So that's the point of the looking at the scorecard to kind of go, where do I need to improve?
Yeah, it's interesting. But I mean, even the question.
I created the scorecard in my head before we created Joya, because the biggest weakness in my life was my relationship.
Right.
And I've now moved on from that.
Well, and I think what I was about to say sort of fits with that I think the questions in that scorecard are excellent because they're contemplative. Like they make you sort of stand back and go, let me have a think about that. Is it really...
But they're not so much questions, they're really statements. And the question is, how much do you agree with that statement?
That's right, yes. Like, is this me or is this not me? Is this where I'm at the moment or is this not where I'm at the moment? So, it's really interesting. And it's like, okay. And there are some things like, I hadn't really considered it to that degree or to that level, and it's a really great exercise.
So now so you're obviously our health expert. Tell me a bit about your health journey. Where have you sort of come from in terms of as far back as you want to go in terms of being healthy? Have you always been healthy? Have you had periods in your life when you weren't healthy? Where did it all start for you?
Pretty much always. It started right from the beginning. I actually had this realization I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And I said to my parents, I am so grateful for my upbringing. So I was brought up on a farm that was basically self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So it was biodynamic. You know, we had an orchard, a veggie garden, huge, you know, hen house with all the fowls.
There's also the physical activity that comes with that as well.
Well, it's the mum and dad were always in the garden. So that's right. So they're always working on the farm. You know, we had a Jersey cow that Dad milked every day. You know, slaughtered our own beast.
Full cream milk.
Absolutely full cream, raw full cream milk. Yeah. Straight from the cow, sometimes, So, you know, like that was the upbringing that I had. So I think that was the foundation that was laid. And I'm very grateful for that. But I think that also introduced me to something that I've thought a lot about in regards to the Joya, the part of the wheel that's the connection part of the wheel with Joya as well. It's connection to the earth.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've always grown my own food. I've always got my children involved in growing our own food. So even living in the city as the kids were growing up, we had chooks. So we had chickens, we had a big...
Where did you have chooks?
Lower North Shore.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So
in the backyard?
Yeah.
Because they don't take up a lot of space, do they?
No. You can't have roosters, and you've got to take good care of the chook pen.
And how many did you have?
6.
6?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, but because of that, all of our food scraps went to the chooks. So that's reducing rubbish. It's creating compost. We had a big worm farm, which was also wonderful for the children.
Wow.
Had a massive veggie garden, had a few fruit trees.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and then these beautiful fresh eggs that, you know, we'd get 6 eggs a day, which was wonderful.
Health wasn't initially a career for you, was it?
Sort of. So that was my upbringing. Then we moved to the country. So that was just outside of Sydney. Then we moved to the country in Tamworth.
Yep.
But still, we always had orchards, always had chickens, always had big veggie gardens. And so that was still very much part of my upbringing. I have always, ever since I guess I can remember, but particularly in high school, been interested in complementary and alternative healthcare as well. So away from the big pharma stuff. I guess creating a vessel that doesn't need medication. It's, you know, creating the healthiest space possible.
Yeah, if a good healthy body doesn't need drugs.
Yeah, that's right. But you know that there has to be a foundation of real whole foods. So that's where it all starts. And there are other factors that feed into that, which we'll get into more later. But so even in high school, like I was telling my partner the other day, because he was asking me a similar question, like, have you always been interested in this kind of stuff? And I said, I can remember going out to our veggie garden before school in high school, picking a big bunch of spinach and making a smoothie with almonds and strawberries and spinach and Greek yogurt, like in high school.
It was not trendy to do that.
No, and I was taking spirulina and
Wow.
So this is when I was in high school. So yes, I've always had this interest, I think, not only in health, but in sciences. So my mind is a scientific mind. I started medicine when I finished school and then went to nutrition and dietetics. So like that health sciences has always been a fascination to me. The latest studies in health sciences have always been where my absolute interest and passion lies, still does.
So you just there's a new study out, you go and read it, figure out what's going on, figure out whether it's
and now podcasts are so fantastic. I mean, I listen to podcasts incessantly. So every morning I'm up at 5:15, 5:30, walking my dogs, 5K walk with my dogs, and listening to podcasts. And then often that continues in the car, and then while I'm getting ready for work, because I'm sort of hooked to it.
While I've still got the thought of you as a this
high school
weird high schooler that's making spinach smoothies about 15 years before anyone else was doing it. Were you physically active as well? Were you in the sort of sports and all that kind of stuff, or did you?
Look, I always a very
what was your
active
sport?
kid. So when I was in primary school, I was a hockey player, swimmer, and also then softball, and that went into high school. However, when I was 11, I broke my arm and my leg at the same time, and that kind of put a back burner on sports for about 2 years. Then after I was off crutches and after operations and things, then could kind of get back on track. And again, I went back into hockey, swimming, softball for a while.
High school finishes, sports continue or not?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, I've always loved walking, so I've always walked. So I would, even when I was at high school, and Dad was always a great walker, so Dad and I'd go for big walks and together.
Brilliant.
And it was wonderful time with him as well. But then so through high school and then after high school, and then always swimming, so I was always sort of in the pool swimming as well, and that continued after high school.
And swimming and walking, they're there forever. exercises, then they're not, I still play football. I'm too old to do it, but I still do it anyway.
Yeah.
But at the same
walking,
time,
you want to be able to walk forever. To travel, I mean, a big driver of mine is so that I can, go to Italy again for 2 months and keep walking when I'm 86.
Yeah.
So to keep, I think walking is one of the most important things to hang on to as we age, to be able to walk well and make sure that your body works well to walk well.
Do you know, it's funny, because I've always been so, into kind of like running and cycling and playing football and stuff like that. I forget how enjoyable walking is, and yet it is the most important human exercise.
Yeah, that's what we made.
It's really strange. I kind of always think, I like to go for a walk with my grandson because that's me hanging out with him. Yeah. Which I'm doing this afternoon. I'm looking forward to that. But at the same time, I almost kind of park that as not exercise. I don't know why. It's a mistake, isn't it? It
is a mistake, yes. But I think if you've been involved in sports like football, that is the greater perception of, okay, I'm doing a sport or I'm running, but actually your knees are going to give up, or your joints are going to start to, all the injuries from football or rugby or whatever it is. You're not always going to be able to play rugby, but you're always going to be able to walk, hopefully.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. But no, and then after that, then I did get into different types of gym and working out, always yoga. So that's always been something that's been important to me, which I haven't done as much of as I should have been doing. So that's actually, I was just looking up yoga yesterday going, I need to get back again.
Yoga's been on my list.
So yoga is quite an amazing modality or activity to be doing at any age, and both for men and women. Not only is it like a full body workout, literally every time I go back to yoga, and I think this is what stops me, is I know that I'm going to feel every single muscle in my body, including the ones between my ribs. It's like, that's right, I've got muscles there, gosh. But it really is incredible for strengthening and toning, amazing for balance as well. So I think as we age as well, balance is so important. So walking is important. Reducing fall risk and balance is also something that's important. Am I
wrong to be scared of yoga because I am naturally inflexible?
No, you're not wrong to be scared of it, because it's easier if you are flexible, but the more you do, that will also increase your flexibility. Yeah. But the beauty about yoga is that it can be adapted. So, there's within each pose, there are different levels. So for somebody who's really advanced, who's been doing it for a long time, there's going to be one version of it. But then for someone who's just starting or not as flexible, there's another version of it. It's the same pose in essence, but there's different degrees of it. And every friend of mine who's a male who I've taken to yoga has become addicted, literally love it. So stronger.
Okay, I'll put it back on the list.
The other thing that it does though, because it regulates breathing, swimming is another modality that regulates breathing. So it actually regulates the nervous system as well.
Really?
So this is why yoga is an amazing
Hang on a second. Wait, how does it regulate the nervous system? How does that work?
So breathing is one of the ways that we shift the nervous system from sympathetic to parasympathetic. So controlled breath.
Okay, now go step back. Go on. Give it to me slowly. Sympathetic, parasympathetic
nervous system.
What do you mean?
So our bodies are meant to exist. So this is actually 3 different parts of the nervous system, but we'll talk about the sympathetic and parasympathetic components of the nervous system. So our body is meant to exist in the parasympathetic zone, let's call it, of the nervous system, which controls rest, digest, and reproduce, which is basically our immune system, our digestive system, and our reproductive system. And our sympathetic nervous system is fight, flight, fight. So it's, when we get stressed, we go into sympathetic, so our nervous system shifts, and it's like a seesaw. We can't be in parasympathetic and sympathetic. So it's either sympathetic or parasympathetic like this.
Right, so if you kind of chilled, that's parasympathetic.
That's right. And when we're under stress, it's sympathetic. Anxiety absolutely comes under sympathetic.
Got you.
But when we look at it from an evolutionary perspective, it was either hunt or be hunted. So most of the time, early humans would exist in the parasympathetic nervous system. When our sympathetic nervous system switched on, it's either because a saber-toothed tiger is about to eat us, or we need to catch it to feed our tribe for the next month. And so our sympathetic nervous system would take over. So parasympathetic goes into shutdown, or it gets depressed. Sympathetic comes up. And you think about it. If we're hunting, if we need to be really what gets switched on? It's our senses, our heart, and our muscles.
Got you. Yep.
So that's, like you often find when people are really stressed, they sort of jump at sounds.
Brain as well?
Well, brain, yes, yeah, that's right. So yes, brain. I mean, the brain controls a whole lot of it. But
yeah, but I mean, would you expect it to be...
Well, the brain's working anyway. It's more the senses. So it's sight, sound, hearing, like, sight, smell, hearing, touch, like that's what actually gets really heightened. The brain's controlling the whole thing. But then it's either, were you eaten or did you catch? And so we go, once that clear and present danger is over, sympathetic goes back down again, parasympathetic comes back up. That's where we exist. And that's how we're meant to be. But in today's society, where we're constantly rushing, constantly stressing about finances, stressing about relationships, time poor, that we're actually existing in what's called sympathetic overdrive.
Right, wow.
So there's a lot of people that are existing in a sympathetic dominant state of the nervous system.
And yet we have so few actual real threats, don't we?
That's right. Yeah, like, are we going to be eaten?
No.
That's right. When we walk out of that room, do we need to look after it? Yeah. Most likely, yes, that's right. So, no, that's exactly right. But what is it? It's our perception of it. So this is what stress is, right? It's our perception of what's going on. And I know it's very difficult to control that sometimes, but it's very good to be conscious of it. And that's the very first step. It's like, okay, is this really a stress, or is it my perception of it that's allowing me to be stressed about this? So what's happening in our
that space between action and reaction kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's a theory as well. It's like, okay, just stop and think for a moment. So rather than reacting straight away, it's like, hang on, have a quick think, have a big deep breath. That's right. Or a few deep breaths, get that nervous system more regulated, and then make the decision. That's the whole thing about sleeping on it as well. It's like, don't make that decision while you're really stressed. It's like, you know what, sleep on it, then reply to the email. Sleep on it.
Yeah, but that's when you sleep the worst though, isn't it?
Look, possibly, yes, and I know from experience, yes. But you think about it, like, if you've sent an email, how many times have you sent an email or a text or a phone call at night when you've been in that highly stressed state, or in the morning and an afternoon, without giving it space and then going, oh, I should have waited. Like now I'm looking at this, I probably reacted a little bit too harshly, a little bit too quickly. Yeah. It would have been a different response if I'd waited and thought about it and considered, actually, okay, so with every action, there's a reaction or a response. It's like, okay, probably could have handled that a little bit differently.
Yeah, I actually, now that I think about it, I do sometimes, when things are on my mind, I find writing them down makes a difference. So I might compose an email or text.
Yes. And then go back to it before sending it.
Yeah, that's, and then I go, I've written what I need to write, now I can sleep.
Yep.
But in the morning, I'm going to reread it and go...
Well, that's also like, one step further than that too, that, if there's something that you really feel like you need to say to a partner, write a letter.
Wow.
And, don't necessarily give it to them straight away, but it's like, if you've got something inside you that you need to say, or you feel they're not listening to, write it down, write a letter to them. Because then you get your thoughts down, you get all your thoughts down. Because, how many times have you sort of had a conversation then afterwards gone, oh, I meant to say that, or oh, I should have said that, or, damn, that, like, there was a point that I wanted to make that, I didn't in the time. So write a letter. It's very helpful. Not only does it help you get it off your chest, but it also is a very clear way of outlining what you want to say or what you want to talk about.
Brilliant.
And even if, you give them the letter and then say, have a read of this. This is a considered letter. I want you to read it. I want you to hear what I'm trying to tell you.
Yep.
Then let's have a talk about it.
Wow.
And, it's a brave thing to do. Like, it's...
I was going to say, it sounds scary.
It is. It is. But, like, within relationships and life, it's like, if we hold things inside, that can be very damaging.
Yeah.
And that can actually have physiological impacts as well. So, disease in the body can come from bottling things up, holding things down, holding things back, not expressing. So that's, not only writing down things for work or, I always find mind mapping a great thing. Just if I've got stuff on my mind, it's like, okay, write a mind map. It's like, where is all this, coming from, and how can I get this down? But then, writing a letter to a friend.
Now, we went through all of this from the sympathetic versus
and I want to go back to that,
parasympathetic. So come back to...
Yes, because the way that this sympathetic overdrive is playing out in our society now, and has been, for quite a long time now, is with sympathetic overdrive, when our parasympathetic nervous system is being shut down, suppressed a lot, what are those things that are being suppressed? It's our immune system. So we're getting sicker more often than we should. We're getting sicker with things like autoimmune conditions, autoimmune disease. Suppression of the parasympathetic nervous system can also affect our gut. Everything starts, in the lining of the gut. It suppresses our reproductive system. So there's quite a large school of thought now that a lot of the infertility that has been happening over the last couple of decades is because, women in particular, but people are working harder. And that's a stressful environment. And when we're working harder, that sympathetic nervous system is dominating, our parasympathetic is being suppressed, our reproductive system is being suppressed. So, you often hear stories of when people go on holidays that all of a sudden they fall pregnant and they've been trying for years. They haven't been able to. But then they go away on holidays and all of a sudden we fell pregnant. Or, sort of to take that stress away. Or like we've been going through IVF for years. It's been really stressful. Haven't been able to fall pregnant. Make peace with it. Come off IVF and all of a sudden But it's like this sympathetic.
Does food have a role to play there? Because you certainly what
in
reminded me there,
or in the reproductive side of things,
in
or
both,
the
because as soon as you start to talk about working harder, I know that if I start working, especially working later,
food choices get poorer.
Exactly, my food choices. I know that I'm going to eat rubbish.
Look, it's a holistic story, and of course, food's going to play a role in it, and not only the food that you eat, but when you're eating. So what you're eating, when you're eating. And one of the most important things for health is the control of insulin in our bodies. That's something that I definitely want to talk about at length for everybody to learn about. But
we might need to do another podcast on that.
That's a whole other thing. But the way that the whole sympathetic overdrive actually affects the body as far as food goes is that the third system that it suppresses is our digestive system.
Right.
So we don't digest food properly.
Wow.
So we're not absorbing nutrients properly. And that actually starts in the stomach. So what that can do is suppress stomach acid. So many people now are taking antacids because of heartburn. Heartburn actually 95% of the time comes from low stomach acid, not high stomach acid. Because our stomach juices aren't being released as they're meant to be released, it means that the environment in our stomach isn't at the pH, the very low pH, which is very highly acidic environment. The pH of about 2 is where our stomach's meant to be at. Often it's higher than that with antacids. It gets higher, it gets more alkaline. Even though that provides us relief, it basically shuts down our digestive system. So not
and then we don't get the digestion that we should,
exactly
and so we don't get the nutrients we should, which then...
Yes, so that's the bolus of food from our stomach.
If we're not getting the right food or the right nutrients in our body, what happens? What's the
deficiencies?
And what's the consequence?
So there's all sorts of consequences. So it can be deficiencies in nutrients that affect all sorts of biochemical reactions in the body. But then it can also be lack of energy, low energy.
Then we feel like we need to drink energy drinks, and no.
But that also feeds into the whole insulin story as well. That like the blood glucose, blood sugar regulation, and insulin regulation as well. And then sleep and stress are big drivers of that too.
Sleep super important for health?
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah. And this is a whole other podcast as well. There's science behind it, but I guess one way that it relates to the nervous system and the sympathetic parasympathetic nervous system is that if we're not sleeping properly, it's making us more stressed, i.e. it's switching us into sympathetic nervous system.
And if we're more stressed, we don't sleep properly.
That's right. And so it's this cycle. Okay, well, let's talk about going to bed at night. So we should be going to bed at about the same time every night. It's one of the greatest indicators. There's an amazing podcast I just listened to recently. I think his name is Matthew Walker. I can double check that. Like one of the world's leading sleep experts. He's incredible. And one of the greatest things now that he says is consistency with sleep, going to sleep at sleep times and wake times.
I heard somebody say recently that setting a sleep alarm is more important than setting a wake alarm.
They're actually both really important for a number of reasons. The first one is, so when we sleep, our body and our brain rejuvenates, basically. The brain gets detoxified, the body gets detoxified, and there are a lot of processes that are rejuvenating.
I'm laughing because I can't help but think, have you tried turning it off and turning it on again? When a computer doesn't...
Yeah, that's right.
Try turning it off and turning it on. For a human, it's like, just go to sleep.
Yeah, and actually, like from an evolutionary perspective, you think about sleep is actually the unsafest place for humans to be. So why have we evolved with sleep for it to be so important?
Yeah.
Because we're so vulnerable. That's when we can get hunted.
Yeah.
So why is it so important? But yeah, this rejuvenative effect on both our bodies and our brains is really important. Like the flushing of our brains, the flushing of our bodies, the rebuilding of our brains and the rebuilding of our bodies.
So we're going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time.
Yes,
right,
the majority of the time. And this is one of the greatest indicators in all-cause mortality in later life.
Really?
Dying young. Yeah,
What?
This is now one of the greatest in sleep consistency over many years.
So I've been worried about getting a heart attack because my dad had one.
Yeah, and you go to bed at 9 o'clock, then 11 o'clock, and then 8:30, and then midnight. And so
I'm terrible.
It's actually meant to be a half-hour window is ultimate. So for me, for example, I like to be, I'm going to show you the nana that I
Go on.
So, I'm up at like 5:30 every morning. So I'm early on the other side, but I like to be in bed by 9 o'clock every night.
Wow.
So 9:30 is my sleep time.
Got you.
And then usually 5:30 is my wake time, sometimes 6 o'clock. So,
that's
it's reasonably consistent. That's right. Yeah. And look, I'm not perfect with my sleep. I'm awake during the night as well, but I've now got little tactics to put myself back to sleep again, which work really well. So
you got one of those that you can share?
Yeah, the Calm app.
Oh, really?
So I listen to sleep stories, and before, and they're all travel stories as well. So I've been to so many places in the world. I've been to Galapagos. Yeah.
Oh, really?
These are my sleep stories.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. But I always used to think, gosh, wouldn't that be stimulating for your brain? But actually what it does, it takes away from the monkey mind. It takes away from that hamster wheel of, and then how you stress more at night? You wake up in the morning, it doesn't seem quite as bad as what the catastrophization of what you're thinking about at night. You wake up, it's like, it's not that bad. That's actually because our brain is in a different state during that sleep and semi-sleep state.
Yeah. And
we're not existing in our frontal cortex, which is where all of our intellect comes from.
Yeah.
We're in a different brainwave, state of our brain is in a different state where it's not logical. It's not completely logical.
Yeah.
And so this is when sort of the catastrophization comes in as well. So get yourself back to sleep as quickly as possible is really good. So sleep stories for me on the Calm app work really well.
But if they're on the app, that means you've got your phone nearby. Is that a good or a bad thing?
It's not a good thing. So ideally what I do, and I have actually downloaded a lot of them onto my phone, so I could put that onto airplane mode. And this is because of the I guess the energy, the little waves that your phone gives out that actually are not good for our brain. They're not good for our DNA.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes, I've got to remember what that word is. Put in the show notes.
It's basically microwaving up.
It might, that's right. It's the type of waves that are not very good for us. Yeah. So yes, no, I shouldn't have my phone near my bed. That being said, I don't get on my phone and scroll at night. I think that's the worst thing. If you do wake up in the middle of the night, start aimlessly scrolling, or then, if you look at the news and think about, oh my gosh, what's going on in the world, it's so bad. But I never do that. I literally get on my Calm app and...
I must admit, I've been we've got a really good habit of going, phones are on charge in the living room, chargers live in the living room.
Yep.
And go to bed.
Perfect.
But the bad habit I've been in lately is putting something on YouTube on the TV, and of course you watch one thing and you go, that was kind of interesting, and then there's another one that it was kind of interesting, and then you end up watching it now.
Yeah.
And then
it's midnight and it's
exactly right. And now, but I want to go back to that going to bed and wake up at the same time. Now, supposing I did that 6 nights a week, but I want to go out on a Friday night.
Go out.
And I'm going to stay up till probably midnight, 1 o'clock by the time.
It's like anything in life, you've still got to live, you've still got to enjoy, and that's part of where the joy of life comes in.
But where does that, what does it do to me? Is it going to give me a bad time, or is it just that
Look, it's not great for your body, right? And probably what you're doing to stay up till midnight is not the most helpful things. But at the same time...
Is that what you think?
Okay, that's rejection, all right. I'm rejecting what I would do. Yeah. But, you know, like, I think you do still have to go out and enjoy. And, you know, all of that then comes into, like, what are you going out? Probably with friends, probably with your partner.
Absolutely.
Social connection.
Absolutely.
You know,
and for me, you know, I love to sing, so I'm gonna sing my head off. And
so I think, you know what, and even with the food that we eat, the sleep that we have, like, you know, an 80-20 rule is a really good rule in life. I think try and stick to the best possible way of doing anything about 80% of the time, but then 20% don't bash yourself up about it. I mean, don't go completely off the deep end, you know. But still, it's like, you know, give yourself a little bit of leeway so that you can.
What about when you've got a partner that maybe they've got a slightly different sleep cycle or whatever, then
tricky.
Any hints, tips, or does one of us have to just bend to the will of the other?
Look, I mean, maybe compromise. Like, you know, if somebody wants to go to bed at 9, the other person wants to go to bed at midnight, maybe try and, you know, do a 10:30 bedtime together. And even if, you know, you go to bed and the person who's a night owl reads in bed rather than scrolls, or I mean, that's another whole thing, going back to the whole sleep story. It's consistent sleep time, and light is another one. You know, we've got a lot of junk light around now, so to get rid of light is really important for us to have a really good quality sleep. You know, there's a number of different things to do to have a good quality sleep, but
cuddling another human, good or bad for sleep?
Look, it's wonderful, I think, because of that connection. And Andrew Huberman podcast I'm listening to at the moment is all about the science behind human connection and the craving for human connection. And we know now that our bodies actually sync, like our heart rates can sync up with somebody else's, like our whole physiology actually can sync with somebody else. And that's a really, you know, we come away from even social interactions going, that was really good socially, like that was a great time, that's a great time. And that's actually, a lot of that has to do with physiologically syncing with the other people that you're with. And so, yes, with a partner, that's wonderful. I think when it becomes disruptive is if one person may be a snorer all night and keeps the other person awake all night, or has restless leg syndrome, or, you know, if sleep is disturbed, then that's a whole other story. And it's a really tricky one. Like,
what's restless leg syndrome? I don't know that one.
Like, it's a thing. So when people are sleeping, like one of their legs are twitching or sort of kicking.
Right.
And it's actually probably due to a nutrient deficiency.
Right.
Yeah. So, like, you know, different.
So if we're not snoring, if we try to get to bed at the same time, sync ourselves up, nothing.
Do you sleep well? And, you know, another way that you can track that up by things like, you know, either, like, you know, this is a Whoop, so I track my sleep every night with my Whoop.
So
do your Apple Watches?
They do track the sleep. Yes, I do make sure that
Aura rings. Like, there's lots of different ones that will actually track your sleep, and so you can see.
I worry that sleep tracking can create stress around sleep.
The other way around. It's kind of like wanting to be really healthy with food can actually create an obsession. It's called orthorexia, where you become obsessed with eating healthily and being healthy, and, you know, then that can also be very damaging.
Right.
And so, yes, there is a theory that, you know, and I've actually had experience with this with somebody I used to know, is that he was so obsessed with his sleep and so obsessed with this and so obsessed with that. Then it's like, yo, dude, like, you know, have really good sleep hygiene going to bed, like, you know, decrease lights to soft lights, you know, an hour before you're going to go to bed, get rid of screens, get the room temperature down where you're going to be sleeping. So, you know, be warm when you go to bed, but a nice cool room temperature.
Yeah, I've heard it's 16, 17 degrees or something.
Yeah, about that. Yeah. So, you know, and don't have doonas that you're going to be waking up in the middle of the night going, and, you know, if you're sleeping with a partner, that's a warmer sleep environment. So maybe have lighter covers. But yeah, get rid of that junk light as well. So, you know, make sure that you've got a nice dark environment. So there's a lot of things that you can do to increase the quality of your sleep. And then substances that you don't take too close to bed. So don't eat too late. Alcohol will affect your sleep. Drinking coffee affects sleep for some people. It's like, I know, I love coffee, I can drink coffee, love my morning coffees. Can't have it past about 10 o'clock in the morning, otherwise I'll be awake at night.
Past 10 o'clock in the morning?
10 o'clock. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So maybe 11 at the very latest, but usually I try not to. I mean,
I'll be fine with my decaf though, won't I?
Yes, you will. But, like, there are all sorts of other things that, you know, factors that you can look at and have a look at. Okay, and are you exercising too late, and is your adrenaline up? So, you know, there's all sorts of things, but don't obsess about it. Like, track it, have good sleep hygiene, but try.
Yeah, you don't want to be OCD about it, because then that's a disorder
in itself.
Yeah.
Then when you're awake at night, you're stressing, and
I just want to come back to alcohol. Good thing, bad thing. terrible thing? Is there a safe level? Is there a good amount?
There's all sorts of schools of thought. So,
what are they driven by?
there are better alcohols to drink. If you're going to drink, there are better alcohols to drink because of, mainly because of the mixes you have or the additives. So in the alcohol, so the lower the sugar content or the lower the greater the purity of the alcohol, the better for your body, because there's less for it to be dealing with, less toxins, I guess. I mean, look, if you look at it from the base physiological perspective, when alcohol is digested and processed by our liver, acetaldehyde is the end product, and it's a poison. So our body will prioritize getting rid of that beyond anything else. If we're drinking heaps and late, that actually affects sleep cycles as well. So, your whole sleep cycles will be affected. So you don't go into the sleep cycles as you should through the night. It can also affect blood sugar, which also makes us wakeful. It can also increase anxiety, so that affects sleep. It also affects detoxification during the night. So we should be detoxifying. Part of that is, for example, for women, breaking down estrogen. Yeah. And, getting rid of estrogens that we don't need in our body. If we're having too much to drink late at night, that's affecting the estrogen breakdown, and it can be restored.
So basically you're an advocate for drinking in the morning then?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What time is it now? 10:30. Oh, I've only had
11 o'clock. Yeah.
All right, But yeah, look, I mean...
Yes, because
some people would say don't drink
all the science and all the stuff, but you still have an occasional drink.
I have more than the occasional drink, yes. I enjoy...
Whereas I don't drink at all, but that's for completely different reasons, not for health reasons at all. Yeah. It's because I'm an idiot when I drink. And I'm not very good with having one.
The community.
Exactly right. Everyone else is better off if I don't drink.
Yes, as far as alcohol goes, there are different schools of thought. Obviously, the best thing for our body is probably not to drink any. But then if you are going to drink, then...
So the best thing for our bodies is not to drink any. Okay, just lock that away.
It gets metabolized into a poison, but I guess you go back to the 80-20 rule, right? So, and then if you are going to drink, it's like eating meat. If you're going to eat meat, make it a conscious choice of what meat you eat.
Yeah.
If you're going to drink alcohol, make it a conscious choice most of the time of what type of alcohol you're drinking. You know, the ones that red wine has.
And try and finish your drinking by midday, is that right?
Yeah. And on that note, we'll end.
Look, it's been absolutely fabulous chatting. We have to do this again. There's so much more that I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
Yes.
We've got to get into more, but I feel like I know more now than I did however long ago we started. Yeah. So I really appreciate that. Thanks for taking the time, and I look forward to hearing so much more.
Yeah, there's so much to learn, and this is the whole thing with nutritional sciences, that there's always new information coming out.
And I'm no dumbass. I read and watch things and try to learn stuff, but at the same time I'm just going, but do I really? And it's already lovely to have someone I can actually ask the questions of as well. So thank you so much. Wow, I did not expect to get quite as much out of that podcast as I did. Thank you so much, Rebekah. That was amazing. This is the end of our podcast number 3. Please subscribe to go to podcast number 4, and also listen to the other previous ones and take the scorecard. We talked about it right in the beginning, but you'll get to see which are your areas where you're strong, which are your areas where you're kind of okay but could improve a bit, and which are the areas you maybe need some help and support from, which is what we're there for. And if we can help each other, we might better help you too. Please like and subscribe. We do appreciate your support, and thank you so much. Have a great day.